Hi, everybody. What's up? Welcome to the ToSalem Friday Live Show. Hope you can hear me okay. Let me get zipped up here. I'm disheveled today. Today is a day of vast dishevelment, as you can see by my unshaven face. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is here in a minute. So glad to be with you. What's up, Lisa? How's it going, homegirl? So glad to be with you this Friday. Hey, listen, this show is going to be a little bit different for reasons that will become clear shortly. Not like these shows have fallen into any sort of normal formatting. They haven't. But this week we're going to be going a little bit less than last week. Last week I think we were like 2.5 hours or something. This week we're going significantly less time, mostly because yours truly has a packed afternoon of things to talk about. So let's just jump right in. Let's get to it because I actually want to talk about what you're seeing on your screen now there on the bottom right. This book right here, Chaos Protocols by Gordon White. We're going to start a conversation about that here in a bit, but we got a few pieces of front matter to go into. Let me silence my cellular telephone. That's a good thing to do. Smart thing to do. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start out like we normally do. Here's a little bit of whiskey, slightly less than normal because, again, shorter show. Welcome, everybody. Cheers to you. Cheers to Salem. Stay weird, witches. Let's have a good time. You know that experience where there's somebody you really like and respect and are a big fan of, and you find out that they listen to the same music that you listen to? I just had that yesterday. Somebody listens to Jason Isbell, somebody that I'm a huge fan of, that I've actually talked to recently. We just found out she also listens to Jason Isbell, so I'm sort of in a gleeful state about that. Let's do a new subscriber shout out. Let's see, let's start out. Who we got first? New subscribers this week. We got Ravin. Ravin? Is that how you pronounce that? Ravyne? Ravin? Ravine? Hawk. Oh, awesome, Eden. I'm glad it got to you. Yeah, that pin's really cool, isn't it? I'm going to show a little bit more of the map here for the Lynn lady here in a second. We got some more stuff. Ravian Hawk. Welcome to the channel, Ravian. I see a bunch of paranormal stuff. I see some Linkin Park. Yeah, dude. Get it. In the end. I'll never sing again on this stream, I promise you. Who else we got here? We got Farah Duru. Welcome to the channel, Farah Duru. Cool stuff. I'm so behind with music. I don't know who anybody is anymore. We've got Brenna Victoria. Welcome to the channel, Brenna Victoria. Whoop. Brenna Victoria has a video here on the Wendigo. Psychosis? Wendigo? Psychosis. Those are two separate things. What does that mean? I'm not sure. The Blackbird of Chernobyl? I might have to check your stuff out, Brenna Victoria. I'm a subbed. Yeah, I'm gonna check your stuff out. What's your about? Brenna Victoria, use a voice changer to narrate my videos. Intriguing. Looking to you, the viewers, to send me stories as well. Oh, so these are stories. Neato. Let's listen to one. Hold up. Let's give Brenna some love. I love people who make things. Let's try Blackbird. Let's see what it's like.
A lot of people know about the horrific Chernobyl disaster, but most are unaware of the creepy circumstances some people were facing before it all happened. According to some of the survivors, shortly before the huge nuclear plant meltdown, they all started experiencing weird phenomena, including nightmares, threatening phone calls, and encounters with the huge winged beast that came to be known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl. General accounts reported that it looked like a large creature-like man with huge wings and red eyes. Some even reporters seeing.
I've never heard this about the Blackbird of Chernobyl, but it sounds an awful lot like the Mothman to me. Are these things linked? Someone let me know, because I don't know. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Last one we'll do today will be, how about this one? Mr. J-Ha. Mr. J-Ha-Ha. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. Looks like Mr. J-Ha-Ha is in a band who has done some Alice in Chains covers. Let's have a little listen and hopefully not get my stream banned by YouTube. That's a nice band you got there, Mr. J. Haha. All right, welcome. Welcome all the new subs to the stream. All right, like I said, we are doing a kind of abbreviated show today. So let's just keep on barreling right through. I got a question sent to me that I actually get a lot. I'm kind of scaling back the Q&As a little bit because I have a tendency to ramble, if you haven't noticed. But I got a question that I get asked a bunch, so I thought I would answer it real quick at the top of the show. The question was, John sent me an email. It was like a long email about Salem and about how he wanted to go this past Halloween, but didn't for obvious reasons. I know a lot of people are also in that same boat. And he was asking, A, when am I around Salem? B, do I do tours of Salem? He's watched some stuff here on the channel. And C, could he book one if I do? The answer to those questions, when am I around? Whenever you want. I'm around. Let me know. A. B. Do I do tours? Kind of. I would say what I do is more like curated, like a curated sort of weekend or curated day. I do that sort of stuff. And I'll walk around with you and just tell you about the town, but it's not like an official tour. I don't do like a, haunted tours or Salem witch trials tour. I don't do like theme tours. I don't do that. What I do though is a little bit more personal, kind of like, let's just hang out when you're in town and I'll show you what's cool. I'll come up with like a list of a bunch of suggested stuff to do. I'll tell you why I think you should do it. I'll like talk to you about what you want out of your trip, if you're like there for pagan stuff or Salem witch trial stuff or satanic temple stuff or nautical stuff, whatever it is you're into. I'll build something for you based off of that, and then I'll chill with you when you're in town. We can go around, have lunch, have coffee, whatever. I do that. I don't really do straight up tours. So if that sounds of interest to you, email me, Joel, J-O-E-L, at ToSalem.com, and there's the answer to your question. John, let me know when you're coming, and maybe we can get something hooked up. I want to show you guys something before we launch into today's topic. Let's have a look-see at the changes to the Lynn Lady. So if you don't know, on January 29th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me and about 12 or 13 other people have been working on an audio series that is set in and around Salem, Massachusetts, that is premiering. It's 6 episodes long, premiering on the night of the 29th, playing from episode 1 to episode 6. In between those episodes, you are going to be invited to walk around a virtual space that we have lovingly crafted for you. That is basically a video game with built-in video conferencing software, and which you can turn off, by the way. You don't have to actually see anyone in person or talk to anyone. And in this virtual space, there is a whole mess of live events and featurettes and games and a cool like little side adventure. I'll show you in a second. We've got a Tarot Labyrinth, I guess. Weird little like cool events like that. A lot of stuff that's about the series that you are listening to. Again, it'll be like you listen to an episode, you go off for 20 minutes and do something and have fun. You come back, you listen to another episode, you go off, have fun for 20 minutes, you come back. And then the evening ends with a big long after party in which you can come chill at the after party. I'm going to show you where that's going to be here in a second. Or go off and just continue checking out the space, talking to people, interacting, playing games, doing whatever you want to do. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be Q&As. There's going to be live stuff. There's going to be pre-recorded stuff. Going to be a fun night. Link in the description to find out more. If you do want to buy a ticket, promo code HORROR, all lowercase, gives you 10% off a regularly priced ticket. Maybe a VIP. I'm not sure about VIP. Definitely regular. All right, I showed you guys some of the space. There's a video here on the channel where you can see a bigger walkthrough, but I just want to show you guys some new spaces that I'm really stoked about. This is the space that you're seeing on your screen now on the right side. Here, let me change to this mode. Bah! Okay, this is the space now where you can see what basically this is going to be like. It's a big open space. Down here is an arcade. We haven't put the games quite in yet, but this is going to be filled with a bunch of games like Tetris and a bunch of other stuff. It's going to be down here, little arcade game consoles. I got one elsewhere here. I can show you some new spaces that we've added since last week. If you got a planetarium, this little planetarium, each of these little orbs pulls up a behind-the-scenes featurette on the episode that you listened to. So like after episode 1, you can come to the planetarium and check out the behind-the-scenes featurette on the making of episode 1, including rehearsal footage. We recorded all of the rehearsals, so you can see what the rehearsals were like, how all that worked, what the actors were like before we rehearsed versus what you just heard, what it sounds like when you're doing without sound effects and all that cool stuff. So all of those are going to be in these behind-the-scenes featurettes. Also have a gallery up here, speaking of the actors. In the gallery, I think we'll add a little bit more to this, but we have, right when you enter, we have these tarot cards here. These are the exclusive Lynn Lady custom tarot cards. If you order a VIP ticket, you'll get one of these in the mail. This is the Fool. These are all designed by Laura Austin. This is the Fool custom tarot design. And then we have all the way down here, we have basically comparing the tarot card to the Rider-Waite tarot version. What symbolism we pulled from that. You can kind of see the similarities here, you know, cliff, hill. We have the sun here. We have the fire. We have a fire in the same kind of positioning in the dawn. So there's a lot of symbolism that we just kind of like reincorporated. We're strongly considering now just doing a full tarot deck, because the way that this basically worked was I like went to Laura and was like, okay, this is what I need from this card. And she did a design. And then I was like, oh, that's perfect. So you can read all about those there. We got the Fool, we got the Tower. This is the one you'll actually get a physical copy of in the mail if you purchase a VIP ticket. And again, we have comparisons to the Rider-Waite version, talking about the symbolism that's incorporated from the audio series that you'll be listening to, in addition to, thank you, Lisa, in addition to the symbolism of the card. And then our final one is the Wheel of Fortune, which looks like that. Which looks very different from the Wheel of Fortune in the Rider-Waite Tarot. But a lot of this symbolism is just redone in a different sort of way here. So what do you guys think? Should we do a full deck? I'm starting to think that maybe we should. Not because we'll sell a lot of it or anything, but because it was just so much fun to do, really. Also in the gallery, we have up here, these are all the headshots of everyone who is involved in the making of this. So if you come to the premiere, you can meet any and all of these people. You could meet Kelsey, for instance. Kelsey is the star. Kelsey Godfrey is the star of our series. She plays Marina Bishop in the series. This is Kelsey. So you can, get to know her a little bit. Go to her about, see what she's all about. Man, she got such good pictures. They have such good pictures. Sorry. They have such good pictures, yeah. It's weird. Kelsey is, it's not weird, but I keep slipping up because Kelsey, as a human, is a, here you go, they, them, queer, non-gender, non-conforming, broken place theater artist. But Kelsey plays a female in the piece. So I keep screwing up my pronouns. Apologies, Kels. You can learn about Brian. This is Brian Middlestaff. He plays a very, very cool character also in the piece. So yeah, we got a gallery. What up, what up, what up, what up, Eden? Maybe we will do a tarot deck. Eden, you got a physical copy. So if you say we should do it, we'll probably do it. It's on you. It's on you. What's up, mama? All right, let's keep browsing around some other new spaces, and then we'll get into what today's show is all about. What else did we add? Oh yeah, we added this crypt area. Check this out. Yeah, the crypt. One of the live events is going to happen in here. Ron Martin, who wrote a book that should be in my arm's reach. There it is. Ron Martin, who has been on the podcast before, he wrote this book right here, is coming on to do a live segment on Salem's paranormal history. And that's going to be happening in this space right here. We got the graveyard, which I think I showed you guys last week, but here's what it looks like. There's going to be, if there's time, I hope that there is, there's going to be a tribute to the Salem Witch Trials Memorial in this graveyard eventually. We also have the woods. This isn't done, but I'll just show you what it's shaping up to be. This is going to look like nighttime when it's done. This is where the after party is. Oh, thank you, Eden. All right, we're going to do it. I'm calling it. We're doing a tarot deck. Maybe we'll do a Kickstarter or something. I think that's the way to do tarot decks these days, is like Kickstarter for, I don't know, a few grand to cover printing costs or something, and do it that way. Maybe we'll do that. Keep your eyes peeled. Okay, this is the after party space, but it's going to look like nighttime. These little campfires, each of them are going to have a different person or event at them. This is a huge map, by the way, massive. The idea is that you could actually get lost at the after party. So I won't show you too much of it because I want to reserve some of it. And then, oh, let me show you the tarot thing. I think this tarot thing is so cool. So we're doing a live tarot reading by someone who doesn't actually know how to do tarot at all. She's a comedian and actor in the piece. Her name's Nikki, and she's great. And that'll be happening right here. You can get a live tarot reading from a comedian, basically, who's playing a tarot reader who knows nothing about tarot. And we're recording it, or we've been rehearsing it, and it is hilarious. We're not making fun of tarot or anything. It's just meant to be like a fun tarot event. If you want something a little bit more reverent and serious, you can go into the Tarot Labyrinth, which you can see here says, enter the oracle for your reading. So we go into there, and this says, what do you wish to ask? Walk the labyrinth as you ask your question. Look, when I enter this labyrinth, I can't go up or down. I can only go back and forth. So you do actually have to consider your question as you are walking this labyrinth. Let's all consider a question together. Let's make it a tarot question, not like a, am I ever going to make a lot of money question. Make it like a tarot question. Good tarot question is like, what do I have to do inwardly to become someone who could make a lot of money? That's a good tarot question. All right, then we get to choose a door. Put it in the chat. What door are we doing? Starting from left to right. Left is 1, then 2, 3, 4. Pick a door. Meow, 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 meow. 3. Here we go. All right, now we got 3 cards. 1, 2, or 3. 1 on the left, 2 in the middle, 3 on the right. 3 again. Here we go. Love God. All right, we got the 3 of Cups. Now, on the night of the premiere, there's going to be, like when you walk over it, there's going to be a big, long description about the 3 of Cups. But whatever your question was that you were pondering, the 3 of Cups is the answer. Badoom. All right, so we got the tarot. There's like a bunch of different, this is the Witch's Dungeon. There's going to be some cool events and stuff in here. Man, we've added so much stuff. Oh, the main theater. I can show you the main theater too. And then we'll bounce out of here. I don't want to show you everything. But we got the main theater. It's way up yonder. Badoom. Main theater. Here it is. This is where the big show is going to be taking place. We got a stage here up on the front. This is going to be the Q&A, full cast Q&A and talk back at the end of the night, or at the end of the episode streaming. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We got like 15 rooms, man, and they're all filled with so many different things. So very, very, very much encourage you to check out the Lynn Lady. There's a link in the description to take you to a page where you can learn all you need to know about it. Let's jump into the next segment. Welcome back. We're now done with the Lynn Lady. Go check that out. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're working really, really hard on it. I'm pulling like 4 hours of sleep every night for the past 2.5 weeks, and I don't expect that to change until after the event, which is January 29th. Be there. It's only going to happen once. All right, a really quick thing, and then I want to talk about the chaos protocols, which is what today's live stream is all about. Really quick thing. I want to talk to you guys about ToSalem generally. If you're a long-time viewer of this channel, yes, it is well worth it. I'm very much enjoying putting this together. I totally agree. If you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you will have no doubt noticed that in the recent months, it has changed significantly. The website, however, ToSalem.com, hasn't changed that significantly. The reason why that is, and I've had some people email me and want to know what's going on here with the Patreon, the website, the Discord, the community, all of that. The reason why I haven't talked to any about that is because I was figuring out what it was going to be and how it should work and how it could best serve what it is that we are actually into and wanting to do. I am very, very pleased to announce that the rough schematics for how all that is going to work are now done. And throughout the course of probably February, all that stuff is going to start launching. Here's what's going to be different, all right, on the website. This mostly applies to the website. A few months ago, I changed like the tagline for ToSalem to be celebrating witchcraft, Halloween, history, and more, or something like that. But that word celebrate is a big, big, big word to me, because I really do feel like that is my place in this like online ecosystem, in the esoteric ecosystem, the Salem ecosystem, like all of the things I'm into. I feel like what I do the best, the most authentically, and I feel the best about doing is celebrating this stuff, putting a spotlight on it, talking about it, enjoying it, not necessarily teaching it. I don't really think I'm a teacher in that way, but just celebrating it, just showing what's cool, you know, having conversations about whatever it is I'm into, whatever it is you're into. So in the next few months, the ToSalem website is going to be pivoting, and the Patreon and the Discord, all of it is going to be pivoting into this realm of celebration and conversation. All right. Those are the two big areas we're looking at. What you can expect from the website, if I do this right, I'm in the early stages, so it might change. I am endeavoring to reconstruct the entire ToSalem website to be, yes, still ToSalem original content, videos, articles, all that stuff, but also to be posting, especially videos, podcasts, articles from all over the internets, from people whose work I think is worth checking out. And Ellie, who's the ToSalem writer, who is a practicing witch, comes from a lineage of Bulgarian witches, actually surrounded by Bulgarian witches at the moment. What we think is worth checking out. So the site is going to be kind of like, I'll tell you what the inspiration is. We probably won't get there because it's hard. It's technically hard. Our inspiration is a streaming service. We are like kind of, sort of figuring out how to build ToSalem into something that very much resembles a streaming service for the esoteric, for witchcraft, filled with people we love, giving them all the credit in the world that they deserve, you know, obviously linking directly to their videos and articles and stuff, but really using ToSalem as like a place to stimulate conversation by pulling in content creators, writers, and all sorts of people from all over the internet. So we're currently hard at work at that. So ToSalem will, when we're done, if we do it right, it'll kind of become a place where you can just like jump in and find a whole bunch of different esoteric content, witchcraft content, history content, Halloween content from a bunch of creators who we love, right? A community, basically, is what we're trying to put together, supporting each other's work. That's what we're working on. Tied into that is the Discord server, which is linked to the Patreon. We're getting all that up and running. And the idea then is that like you get on ToSalem. If you're a patron, you have access to the Discord server and you're talking about whatever the stuff is that we're posting. Still in the mix of this is all the great ToSalem content that hopefully you love. And a bunch of other stuff from a bunch of other people. So that's the idea. Thank you, Lisa. That's the idea. That's what we're working on. We're currently figuring out the tech, how all that will work, but really transitioning hard into like, let's be weirdos together. So keep that in the back of your mind. It's all coming together now. Check back in a month or so, and hopefully some incarnation of that will be live to check out. All right. Now, let us launch into what is the main segment today, the Chaos Protocols. That is this book right here. I brought it up last week. Here it is, Chaos Protocols by Gordon White. A little bit of background matter. We're not going to get through this conversation, by the way, because we're only going for about an hour today. And that's not even enough to really penetrate the first few chapters. But we're going to talk about the first few chapters. And then next week we'll come back and we'll talk about the next few chapters. We'll get this whole book down because I actually think that this is a must read for anyone who is alive currently, is interested in esotericism or magic or witchcraft, all of these things, and is interested in the future. If that sounds like you, must read. Must read. Let's talk a little bit about Gordon White before we get into talking about the book specifically. Gordon White, I would imagine a lot of people who check out the ToSalem YouTube channel have heard of him or have heard of his blog or podcast, Rune Soup. Rune Soup. I know it's certainly on my short list of podcasts that I listen to every episode of, and I highly recommend you do as well. I absolutely adore Rune Soup and Gordon White. It is an interview show, and Gordon has on some of the, I would say, cleverest minds in the world of the esoteric working today. It's a little bit like the ToSalem or the Salem Witch podcast, but way, way better. I live in the shadow of Gordon White's genius. So he's definitely an inspiration for me. His blog has been an inspiration for a lot of people like me who are interested in these sorts of things and who haven't heard of it. I highly recommend you checking out. This is his book, written fairly recently, last few years or last couple years. Let's see when it was. 2019, 2 years ago is when this came out. So I'm going to read you just a little bit of the black blurb, and then we're going to dive into talking about the book specifically, specific parts of it. Here's what he says. Magic, power, money, and meaning in a world on the brink. The years since the financial crash have been the realization dawn that The years since the financial crash have seen the realization dawn that the great promise of modern civilization will go unfulfilled. This is the back blurb, all right? He's already unloading. He's, shots fired. Study hard, work hard, buy a house, retire happy. It's all a lie. Spun for the benefit of a tiny elite. The richest 85 people on earth have as much wealth as the poorest 3.5 billion. The richest 85. I personally know 85 people, I'm sure. The richest 85 people. Think about that number in a room. 85 people on earth have as much wealth as the poorest 3.5 billion, which is a number I can't even conceptualize. It's so large. Each month the numbers change, but they never improve. Gordon does this. He has hyperbolic statements like that throughout the book. I'm sure we'll encounter more. I'm sure some months they do improve, but you get what he's trying to say. Magical and spiritual discourses fail to keep up with this new reality. The Chaos Protocols aims to fix that. Join Gordon White as he shows you how to use chaos magic not only to navigate these trying times, but to triumph as well. Discover how to become invincible through initiation. Again, a little hyperbolic, although what he means by invincible, we'll talk about it. Discover how to become invincible through initiation and wage the mind war that will keep you moving toward what you really want. From sigil magic to working with spiritual allies, the Chaos Protocols helps you act on the unwavering belief that your life should matter, and you're not going to let something as trifling as the apocalypse get in the way of it. What a way to start a book. Don't let something as trifling as the apocalypse get in the way of your happiness. All right, let's dive in. Chaos Protocols. Link in the description if you want to buy it. I highly recommend it. I listened to the audiobook. That's the first read, is listening to the audiobook. Very good audiobook if you want that. But there are some practical sort of daily ritualistic practices in here that I wanted to employ. And I don't know about you, but he does not pull punches. But I can't remember things that I hear enough to do them in a daily ritualistic practice. I have to have it in print, so I bought a print copy as well. But the audiobook is very good. It's on Audible. All right, I want to just kind of jump around a little bit and talk about what I think all we're going to have time to cover today, and we'll come back tomorrow and dive in where we left off, is really his introductory thesis, which is about the financial situation that we are in and the energetic situation that we are in. All right. He starts out, the first quote he has in the first chapter of the book is from Aleister Crowley. Well, in the introduction, his quote is a Terence McKenna quote, but chapter 1, here's the quote that leads into chapter 1 from Crowley. All the totalitarian schemes add up to the same in the end, and the approach is so insidious, the arguments so subtle and irrefutable, the advantages so obvious that the danger is very real, very imminent, very difficult to bring home to the average citizen who sees only the immediate gain and is hoodwinked as to the price that must be paid for it. That's Crowley, all right? Aleister Crowley, what a good quote to start this book with, right? Basically, we start this book talking about how money actually works in this country. We talk a little bit about the Kali Yuga, which is an era that we are, well, I won't talk about the Kali Yuga today. We're going to talk about the Kali Yuga later in the book, but we start a little bit talking about the Kali Yuga. I think he mentions the age of Aquarius, which we are now in, at the top of the book. Basically, he's setting the scene, letting the reader know that the moment we are currently in, astrologically, spiritually, based off of a variety of spiritual traditions, is distinct. This has been foretold, basically. We knew that this was coming energetically. We knew that this moment that we were currently in was going to bring with it all sorts of cataclysmic changes, apocalyptic changes. People have been saying this in some iteration for a long time. So it's no surprise, really. That's kind of how we start the book, that we're in the situation that we're in. Crucially, he's not talking about a specific political situation. This is not a book about Trump. This is not a book about, neoconservatism or anything like that. This is a book about an entire world financial system that is not what it appears to be. And the beginning of this book is very much about what it appears to be versus what it is, how it used to work versus how it currently works, how it is in the long run unsustainable, and laying out some metrics for us all to see why it's unsustainable. This book is as much about money and commerce and global systems as it is about magic, as it is about ways out of these sorts of systems. So he starts it by showing you what it is that you need to find a way out of. And he does it, I would say, very clinically, very methodically, analytically. He just boom, 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 lays it out, one thing after another, just spelling it out for you. And I appreciate it because I'm dumb and I need it spelled out to me, especially when it comes to things like money. So he starts by talking about how money actually works in this country. So he talks about fiat currency. If you don't know any of this, I mean, I imagine if you're watching this channel, the likelihood that you know this is pretty high, but just a quick repetition. Yes, it does have extensive footnotes as well. Yeah, so really great on that front. If you don't know this, I'm not going to go too deeply into it here, but I very much encourage you to look into it. I love gesturing with a book, by the way. It's my favorite. Can you hear my cat in the background? Can you hear that? My cat is making noises like it's dying. Hopefully you can't. Hopefully you're spared. But I'm not. Okay, here's a quick synopsis. Fiat currency. Back in the day, which is whenever someone says back in the day, that's a clue that you have that they're about to go into talking about something that they actually don't have much historical reference for or understand that deeply. Back in the day, our currency in this country used to be based on real world analogs for it. The most obvious one that we can all pull to mind is gold, right? For a long time in the world, that is basically how money worked. Money was a symbolic representation meant to refer to a real world asset or material, substance that could be traded sort of as a response to, or as a result of the money being traded. So $10 equals 1 ounce of gold. I give you $10. You can therefore go buy 1 ounce of gold. And that's how we measure the value of the currency. Some time ago, that became no longer true. Now, money and debt are far more linked on a global scale, and especially in the United States, than money and anything material. Money and debt are brethren, right? They are basically sort of in the same pot. If you removed all of the debt from the country, you would also remove all of the money. That is a complicated thing to exactly lay out why that's true, but I encourage you to look into it. Today's not really about that. I encourage you to look into it. Money and debt in the modern world are very, very much linked, far more than money and anything of value, okay? So he starts this book by laying out that system, just saying, look, this is the way it is. This is the way money actually works, okay? And we're not just talking about global money. We're talking about your money too. Everybody's money. We're not talking about, CEOs. We're talking about your money. It is stupid, but let me lay out a very illogical state of things in the United States. If you want to increase your credit score, get a credit card, rack it up, pay it off, rack it up again. What are you actually doing when you do that? Nothing. You're just moving an account, moving money from one account to another account. You're giving yourself temporary debt, and that is increasing the capacity at which other people will give you more debt. It's stupid. It's a stupid metric, and it holds back people from being able to get leases. It holds back people from being able to get cars. It holds people back from being able to do all kinds of stupid stuff that everybody in the modern world needs to do. But we have decided this is the metric. How valuable you are as someone who is worth lending money to in many ways equals how valuable you are as a person in this country. It makes no sense. We start this book by laying out a lot of that sort of stuff. I want to call your attention to. He starts by pointing out that at the root level, a lot of what I've just talked about, money is absurd. Really, right down to its base. The entire idea of money in the modern world is absolutely patently absurd. And many people would agree to that, right? We have built a whole series of structures across the entire planet on sand, shifting sand, and then we get surprised when things shift. So he starts out by talking about that. He then goes into talking about how the bailout in 2008 was a really big turning point. Now, I remember this, as I'm sure a lot of people here do. 13 years ago. Oh, Jesus Christ. 13 years ago, the bailout of 2008. Essentially what this was, I'm going to tell you what the rhetoric of it was, all right? But essentially what this was we had a rhetorical situation presented to us as the American people. And the rhetorical situation was all of these banks have failed, essentially. And the masses of debt that they have accrued, they can no longer fiscally responsibly meet with their own capital resources. So we, as the American people, were asked to go in and use our taxpayer money to ensure that they could remain totally solvent, because we were told if we didn't do that and we allowed the free market to work and these banks to fail, it would cause a chain of events that would bring down entire industries, entire sectors. Crucially, we were not told at that point, at least to any, by my memory, any clearly articulated vision, why that latter thing was true, how people were going to undo it so that that thing would not be true anymore. It's not like they were saying, we need to invest taxpayer money in this bailout so that this doesn't bring down the entire global economy. And also we need to change X, Y, and Z to keep this from ever happening again. No, That's not what happened. What happened was we need money to keep this chain of events from occurring, and we're not going to change very much. So it could occur again. They didn't say that last bit, but I think we all intuited that that was true on some level. So to Gordon and Chaos Protocols, this is a turning point. This is a real turning point. I haven't thought about it very much as a turning point. This book really, I mean, obviously I'm aware that it was different, right? That this was really framed differently in the popular conversation than a lot of stuff that preceded it or has happened since. But in large part, I don't recall a lot of people saying really that it was going to be a turning point in the way that it was. We had a lot of people sort of on the right saying, you know, if we, well, I mean, by my memory anyway, this is all anecdotal, they were all kind of saying the same thing. You know, there were very few people who were saying, let them fail because they deserve to fail. It was like the people were saying that, but those in power weren't saying that. Those in power were saying, no, 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 no. You need to be afraid. If they fail, everything falls apart. That was basically what the rhetoric was. So what we did then in 2008, the turning point on which I think a lot of this book is based, is we used taxpayer money to go in and bail out these banks. Think about what that means for just a second. Let's pause. I know this was 13 years ago, but let's bring our minds back. What does this mean? Okay. What we did not do is just as important as what we did do to the beginning of this book, I think. What we did not do is say, you know, when a private or when a public company is on a trading market and you decide that you want to invest money in it, you know what you get for that? You get a share. You get a share of that company's profits because that's good faith capitalism. You know, I want to invest in your company. You give me 10 shares valued at the money that I invested. You start making more money. The value of those shares goes up. My $10 turns into 12, 20, 50. Great. We were not offered that. The government did not say, we're going to use your money to invest and give you a share of the profits for having saved these companies. They said, we're going to use your money to save these companies and you don't get anything for it. And we're not going to change the rules either. That's what actually happened. All right. This book posits that that moment in 2008 was more revelatory than we have allowed it to become in our popular rhetoric. It revealed inherent weaknesses in the entire global economic system. I'm not just talking about capitalism. The whole thing. All right? It revealed all of these holes in the side of the ship. And it revealed to all of us that we were the corks. I never got asked. I don't know if you ever got asked if you wanted to be one of those corks for these companies, which again, 85 people have as much wealth as the poorest 3.5 billion. But those 3.5 billion plus another 4 billion or so are saving those 85 people from the bad decisions that they made without getting a vote, or without getting anything for it. If you really mull this, the inherent unfairness of it is unavoidable. And, crucially, the inherent value placed on those banks versus any single individual person who helped bail them out becomes apparent. The value in the eyes of the policymakers of any one of those banks, when paired up against any one person whose tax money went to bail them out, becomes very clear if you think about this for more than 20 seconds. Policymakers and their calculations across the board, at least in 2008, made a decision that the continued existence of those banks superseded the legitimate human rights, voting opportunities, right to an opinion, even to some degree, rights to free speech, right to control one's own money, right to have a say in how taxpayer money is spent, superseded all of that for both sides in the United States. Both sides. So, this is not a conversation in this book about a good side and a bad side. Because I think Gordon would probably say, and does say in various ways in this book, Chaos Protocols, that there is no good side. Fundamentally. And that the idea of a good side is a rhetorical tool. Rhetorical tool. Now, in light of what has happened in this past week, 2 weeks, I suppose, I think we can safely say that there are sides who use manipulative tactics which are less immediately physically harmful and might even be physically bolstering or beneficial. But they all wanted this in 2008. And we can't forget that. Can't forget that. Because after that, we were in a different world. After that, we all knew on some level that we as people could fail and be broken and be crushed by the systems that these people set up. But those systems would always be saved by us. We know that's true, and there's no going back. All right? Big, big, big important thing that the global economy revealed to the global populace in 2008. And a lot of this book is based off of, or I would say rooted in knowing those truths. All right? Now, let's jump forward. Also, early in this book, he talks about, after we sort of break down how money actually works, money and debts linkage, the financial crisis of 2008, we get into what I think is, and I think Gordon kind of frames as an oncoming storm. This is from page 35, if you want to read along. All right, this is a segment he calls Demographics. He says, today, 10,000 Americans will retire. The same thing will happen tomorrow. The same thing will happen the next day, and every day after that until the year 2030. That whole like baby boomer retirement thing, it's happening. The thing everybody is saying, like, when this happens, we're not sure what it's going to do or what's going to be left after. It's happening. 10,000 every day until 2030. The departure of the baby boomers from the workforce is a demographic event unprecedented in the history of mankind. Are you listening? Unprecedented in the history of mankind. Congratulations to them, Gordon says. Congratulations and good luck, because there are currently trillions and trillions in unfunded pension liabilities in both public and private plans. Great, right? You'll recall that the bank bailouts amounted to a mere $13 trillion. By the way, again, this is written in 2019, but think about what's happened since. I saw yesterday that Joe Biden's his COVID relief plan is 1.9 trillion or something like that. 2008, bank bailouts amounted to a mere 13 trillion. Six point something times for the banks to continue existing. 400,000 Americans dead. 1.9 trillion. Mull it over. The combined public and private pension liabilities are difficult to calculate, but they sit at between 80 and 90 trillion. 80 and 90 trillion for the public and private pension liabilities, which he admits are difficult to calculate, but 80 and 90 trillion. That is a lot of money. Those are some big promises, 80 to 90 trillion promised to these people who, again, are retiring at 10,000 per day, every day until 2030. Start letting some of this math in, okay? This is before we get to the dramatic increase in healthcare costs associated with the doubling of the number of senior citizens in developed economies of the world in the next 3 decades. Again, he wrote this in 2019. What has happened to the elderly community since then? What's happening in nursing homes right now? What's happening in critical care units? What's happening in hospitals across the country? It is only, yes, it is an unfathomable, all of these are unfathomable amounts of money. But we have to kind of figure what he's saying here because it's important. This is not unlimited resource, right? These are not unlimited resources. They're not. They are linked to things in such a way, still, in the way that they were in 2008. They are linked to things that if one thing goes down, everything goes down. It's still true. They changed nothing substantive. All right. So 80 to 90 trillion before increases in elderly care, baby boomer healthcare, basically. He says, it's not really their fault, but the baby boomers are the economic equivalent of a biblical locust swarm. When they were born, there was a huge growth in diapers and prams. They received largely free health care and education, which prepared them for the abundance of middle-class jobs that were available in a successful economy. They benefited from effectively free housing as properties inflated along their entire working lives. Anybody like me here in their 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s? Tell me. You tell me. I'm not going to say my opinion at all. Does that sound like the world you grew up in? Sure don't sound familiar to me. That's not the world I grew up in. The impact of their presence. Yeah. Yes, chat. Yes. The impact of their presence in tertiary education and the property market made both considerably more expensive, which led to funding cuts for generations that came after them. The story of the Western consumer economy is really the story of the things baby boomers buy. We actually know quite a bit about the life cycle of a consumer now. People buy houses around the same age, 31. People buy international vacations in their 40s. People buy luxury cars at around the age of 53 once the kids have graduated college and before the drivers get too old to enjoy them. The peak age for potato crisp purchase is 42 years old, by the way. So this is quite a granular formation. I'm getting angry at baby boomers. Apologies to any boomers watching this, but you got to know what you did. You got to know. What do retirees buy? 10,000 of them a day, every day, till 2030? Pretty much nothing. 80 to 90 trillion. 80 to 90 trillion before healthcare costs promised to a group of people who are retiring at a rate of 10,000 a day who are putting effectively no money back in. Starting to see? Starting to see what Gordon's getting at? Whilst it may initially look like a good news employment story that the baby boomers are vacating well-paying middle-class jobs, what this actually means is that the biggest source of demand in an economy that is 70% based on consumption is evaporating, which obviously puts the jobs they are vacating at risk. I could just read this whole book out loud, honestly. I'll force myself to stop. But let's just chew a little bit on what we've learned thus far. What the premise, we're on page 35 of a 200-ish page book, all right? What the basic premise of this book is that we've set up thus far. A, money's already, fiat currency, money and debt, this is already shaky ground, right? Its value is directly linked to its perceived value. And as its perceived value plummets, all sorts of insane things are going to happen to try and stimulate that perceived value, like a Brexit, like all kinds of weird stuff that we can't even foresee because it's so unprecedented. It will keep happening. It will keep happening. We know it will keep happening because it's already happening, all right? That's point A. Point B, the bailouts in 2008 showed us all that we are not nearly as valuable to the administrative officials in this country as the companies that we helped to save. And that is what? A handful of companies among hundreds, I would say, that they would probably bail out if and when they need to. And when is a crucial word here, because I would argue, and I think a lot of people would, that this is a time thing. This is going to happen. It already has happened. It will continue to happen. Point C, 10,000 people retiring every single day until 2030 who are going to take out of the global pension fund $80 to $90 trillion before healthcare costs without really putting anything back in the way of consumers. Point D, I think we were doing letters, not numbers. Point D, or 4, whatever I did. Point D, which I haven't talked about, but I'll throw in here, I don't have a full-time job. I know a lot of people who don't have full-time jobs who are around my age, who make money on Etsy, or make money on YouTube, or make money on, whatever. I know a lot of people like that. A lot of people. I'm not protected. They're not protected. I'm not putting into this, pension fund for my future. Neither are they. Because a lot of us are aware of these sorts of things and say, it's not going to be there for me. So why would I pay into it? Be out of the goodness of my heart for my fellow man? I would love that, but I can't afford it. This was before the pandemic. I don't even know. What's the unemployment number at right now? Let's look at the graph. I want to look at the graph. I haven't seen the graph in a few months, actually. Let's look at the unemployment graph from pre-COVID to now, because all of these people aren't paying in either. And that's not a knock on these people. This is not about who is paying in and who's not paying in. It's purely numbers we're looking at here. All right, Google. Unemployment graph, current US. Let's see. Go. You see that? This graph goes back to 2000. But if we went back to any point before 2000, that spike would be higher than anything else. So we're currently, this graph anyway says we're at 6.7% civilian unemployment. At the financial crisis, we were at 9.8%. So from, when does this start going up? March to about August. We were higher than we had ever been as a country. Unemployment. Among the demographics, this is white people we're looking at in blue. Men, 20 years and older. That got up to 11. Black or African American, 16. 16. Which it also got up to through 2008 until 2012. Women got up to 15. Asian, 14. Hispanic and Latino, 17. 16 to 19-year-olds. Remember what I was just saying? I know a lot of younger people who don't have jobs, period. 32%, 16 to 19. Highest it was back around 2008, about in the 20s, mid-20s. All right. So, yes, you're right. The thing about tax money is more collected by consumer buying, but not just in income-based taxes. But that's what Gordon is saying. This huge chunk of our economy is based off consumer spending. And the biggest consumer spenders are the baby boomers. And we know that when people go into retirement, they stop spending money. All right? And they're retiring now until 2030, 10,000 a day. So yes, you're right about that, Lisa, that we're also talking about consumer buying, not just income taxes. But what I think Gordon is saying is all of it is in trouble, deep trouble. Pre-pandemic, it was in trouble. Even now, post-pandemic, I'm sure it's even worse. You might need to write a follow-up. So winding this conversation to where we're going to end for today, a bit of a cliffhanger on page 46, if you're reading along. This is in a chapter called A Probabilistic Universe. Here we go. The hypothesis of materialism is extremely weak. All right, let's think about materialism here in two contexts to understand what Gordon is saying. Both the, I would say, United States Western form of materialism, which is buying things equals happiness, and also the scientific materialist worldview, which is basically the atheistic worldview, that the world is comprised of only things that we understand and do not yet understand, and that everything can be reasoned and understood through some sort of clinical, scientific, methodical process. Both of those, all right? Gordon says, the hypothesis of materialism is extremely weak. A single example of the non-physical in action, be it telepathy or psi effects, a religious miracle in any flavor, a provable example of divination or precognition, and Richard Dawkins' house of dreary cards comes crashing down. And part of what he mentions up to this point in the book are there are plenty of places that you can go look and find provable, he says, leaning into the microphone, provable psi effects, provable precognition, provable telepathy. People have been studying this in clinical conditions and proven it. It's real. It has been real forever. It will continue to be real. You've probably experienced it. Deja vu, synchronicities. You've probably felt this in your own life on some level. It's real. All right. There are thousands and thousands of examples to choose from, and you are well served collecting those that are most personally meaningful to you over the course of your lifetime. Don't forget about those events. Keep a journal, everybody. They're important. It could be otherwise impossible past life recollections of children. I've never had any of that past life recollection stuff. Somebody point me towards in the chat or email me. Point me towards a way to start that process. I've read a little bit about past life retrieval. I don't trust people who do past life retrieval, though. That's my problem. If there's a way to do it for yourself, I would love to hear it. What's the way that people love? Let me know. Recollections of children. It could be the 120 years of university studies into telepathy and other psi results. 120 years of study. Find something that simply cannot be but is, and get really knowledgeable about it. Really knowledgeable about it. What is that for you guys? For me, it's stuff like synchronicity, man. Ghosts, the afterlife. I would say that's the area I know a lot about and can't explain without some sort of extra material reality. Whatever it is for you, what resonates for you, journal your own experiences about it, learn a lot about it. These data points become talismans to ward off the demon hosts of the materialist tyranny. That's why they're important. That's why they're important. because the news, the water cooler at work, digital or physical, all of these places are dangerous hotspots through which materialist reality is reinforced. And the reality we all know to be true via our own perception is diminished. So keeping a record of these things in your own life and what attracts you in these realms is important, because it's something you can always latch onto. I think journaling period, I think is the most powerful tool we have as spiritual beings. The most. Supersedes ritual, ceremony, to me, meditation, all of it. Journaling is the most powerful tool, I think, that we have. I'm a huge advocate of it. I love Hellier, Eden. I've watched it several times. I follow the New Kirks avidly. I totally agree. Eden just put in the chat, if you're interested in synchronicities and the unexplained, I'd suggest checking out the show Hellier. They catch some weird stuff. Yeah, Hellier is definitely worth a watch. I think it's all free on YouTube. Am I lying about that? I watched it on Prime, but I think it's also on YouTube. Worth checking out. If you're interested in high strangeness, synchronicities, stuff like that, which that's kind of my jam, Hellier is worth it. Let's keep going, and then we're going to wrap this conversation up shortly. The inherent weakness of the materialist hypothesis neatly explains why the scientific establishment remains willfully, deliberately ignorant of and vigorously opposed to fields such as parapsychology, inviting it into the canon of approved knowledge, even just as the unloved ginger stepchild of psychology, which it isn't, breaks the rest of the college. In the words of the notorious British metaphysician David Icke, quote, they defend the first domino. Eden says it's on YouTube. Look up Hellier on YouTube. They defend the first domino. Just think about what that means for a second, right? Think about what it means to defend that first domino. If you topple that first domino in yourself, magic is real. That's the first domino. Think of all the things that leads to. So they defend against that first because they can't defend against the rest. They can't defend against synchronicity because everybody experiences it. They can't defend against, altered states of consciousness because anybody can experience it. We all do experience it when we sleep. They can't defend against the power of meditation on a metaphysical level. Not really, because when you meditate for, 2 weeks, you'll experience it. There's a million things they can't defend against. So they just defend against that first thing, which is all of this is material and we just don't understand it yet. We understand a lot of it. All right. At times of economic transition, this is the important bit, I think. At times of economic transition, old maps no longer navigate through unfamiliar streets. These streets are so unfamiliar, aren't they? I've been watching the news the past 2 weeks. I don't normally do it, but I've been doing it the past 2 weeks because, in a way, it is validating what's going on right now. If you're listening to people like Gordon, this all sure seems like par for the course. Chaos magic helps here. If you believe, as I do, this is Gordon, that it is more or less mandatory for magicians to have adventures, then we can extend the metaphor by suggesting that a well-prepared adventurer always travels with more than one map. There may indeed be a resting worldview you prefer for the quieter moments in life, or their most important milestones such as births, romance, and the deaths of loved ones and enemies. These maps may not be the best suited for navigating the corporate sphere, especially now that it appears to have gone completely feral. In order to navigate a wealth creation system that is not built for our benefit, the most appropriate maps are offensive rather than defensive. Offensive rather than defensive. I think about my grandparents. I think about the world that they grew up in, where you could get a job, pay into a pension, know from the outset that that pension was going to be there for you. Those retirement savings were going to be there for you at a certain date, and that that was the age that you could stop. We are not in that world. It's heartbreaking and it's tragic, but it's true. That world is gone. They will get it. And to some degree, they deserve it. They paid into it, but they will take it with them. This book, to me, what's so important about it, why so many people should check it out, is A, it's very introductory. It's not hard to read. It makes sense. He's a great writer, great thinker. But then B, we need to prepare magically, financially. We need to get some practical steps in place for us to engage with on a daily basis that will help us get ready for what he thinks is coming, and what I think is it's even more clear that it's coming since when he published this book. So, where we're going to stop for today is the introduction of magic. And we'll jump right back in with magic on next week when we pick up this conversation. When he says, building an offensive system rather than a defensive system. The defensive system is the system of our grandparents. That was a defensive system. Go to work every day, be protected against your own oncoming illness and death by a pension. We need offensive systems. I agree with Gordon. So how do we build them? And what should they be like? And what are we trying to even do with them? I love this conversation because this, to me, is a grown-up conversation about what's happening and how spiritually to deal with it, financially to deal with it, emotionally deal with it. I highly recommend this book. Read it before next week. Come back. We'll launch back in with magic. We're only 40 pages into this thing at this point. And I'm skimming. There's a lot of stuff I haven't included. Great book, right? Already. The stuff that Gordon's laying out in the Chaos Protocols. Phenomenal insights, the whole thing. When we get into the magic, you're going to see where Gordon really shines, because he is a very, very learned magician, I would say. Everybody, I'm so... You know what I am, really, as we wind down this live stream? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. We're not in the hair phase anymore. We're not in the dawning of the age of Aquarius anymore. We're officially out of it. We're fully in the age. I'm hopeful about it. I really am. Hopeful in a few ways. This book makes me hopeful. You people make me hopeful. I'm excited. Eden says he uses the metaphor of a map, but I also like the metaphor of having a magical toolkit or arsenal if we want to get more offensive. I agree. And I love, here's what I don't like, hexing the president. That's not what I am talking about, and I don't think that's what Gordon is talking about, based off what we're going to talk about next week, when he says offensive magical tools. That's not it. It's not it. It's things, places to cultivate within self. Places to get to in your own thinking, in your own ritualistic practice, in your own ceremonial practice, that help you get to a place where you are building things that are going to support you and the people you love in a way that is actually sustainable through what is coming. What is coming. And I'm not being prophetic here, and I don't think Gordon is either. This is not, there's very little prophetic tonnage to this book. He's not saying I had a vision of the future. He's saying, look at all these things that are very clear and present, and anyone can go research and look for yourself. Look at all these things. They only end one way. That's what the feel of this book is. So thank you for tuning into the live stream. Please do consider buying this book. There's a link in the description, unless you're watching on Twitch, in which case go to the YouTube president. No one has to hex the president, done to himself. They did, though. I don't know if you saw this, Kim. The TikTok witches hexed the president. When was it? What, 2 years ago? Something like that? Somebody has to remind me. I remember there's a story in like Variety about it or something, or Vanity Fair. Some stupid content, eyeball clickbait story about all these TikTok witches hexing the president. They did it. It was like a whole thing. It was a month-long affair where they all hexed the president as if that was something that needed to be done. I agree with you, Kev. Thanks, everybody, for checking out this live stream. Tune back in next Friday for the 1:30 live stream, where we will continue our conversation of the Chaos Protocols, which is like the Chaos Protocols. We'll continue our conversation of the Chaos Protocols, jumping into the magic, the chaos magic that is underpinning this work. Thank you, Lisa. You have a great week as well. Love, love, love to everybody. Have a great week, everybody. Stay strong, stay hopeful. I really, really appreciate you being here. I can't wait to see you next week. Mwah! Stay weird, witches. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.